Hey guys, Chris here, and I'm Ukrainian Canadian. Today is August 16th, 2024. And let's get to the news and map updates happening in Ukraine and Russia, shall we? So the Ukraine offensive continues, and we have some great news today. So the Ukrainian forces destroyed the Glushkovo bridge. And you might ask where that is. This is on the western side of what the Ukrainian forces currently control in Kursk. So they already occupy around 1,200 square kilometers in Kursk. And there is a Ukrainian push right now on the western side of the oblast to capture this specific district, which would be very advantageous for the Ukrainians. It stretches the Russian defenses, and this is still a territory that Ukraine can control and occupy. Why they destroy the bridge? Because there is obviously a river that goes through here, and there's hundreds of Russians still located here trying to defend the settlements. And they will be pretty much unable to fall back with heavy equipment, and they won't be able to receive support either. So the Ukrainians have confirmed that they've destroyed two bridges, and one has been fully destroyed, which is the Glushkovo, which is the most important one. You can see based on the images here that the bridge is totally gone, and this was the result of a JDAM bomb that struck the bridge and completely obliterated it. So in the next few days, what we can expect is that the Ukrainians will likely be able to take around 600 square kilometers of territory on the western side of Kursk, close to the Ukrainian border. And some pro-Russian channels are spreading panic because they're claiming that there's around 700 Russian soldiers that are currently stuck here, and they won't be able to be resupplied. So we can expect in the next few days a massive surrender, Russian surrender, which will only replenish the exchange funds. So overall, excellent news. The Ukraine continues with its momentum, but let's keep our expectations grounded. I think right now the Ukrainians are having great gains, but they will stop eventually. So we need to keep ourselves grounded and understand that the Russians will be able to eventually figure things out. But overall, this is really pleasant to see how great this operation is going. And I'll talk about a few paradigm shifts in my next slide because that's really important. So now the Institute for the Study of War confirms that the Kremlin, after 11 days, still has an inability to respond effectively to this invasion. They're claiming that this response is ineffective, they are disorganized, and that Russian officials and propagandists have started to launch a coordinated campaign to discredit these other pro-Russian Telegram channels. They're kind of saying that this is important. You need to act. You need to call this a war. You need to begin the mobilization, a second mobilization. And what we see from the Kremlin for Putin is that they want to sweep this under the rug. They want to pretend that this is just a small setback, that Russia will figure things out very quickly, and that this is not a big deal. And so this is only helping, of course, the Ukrainians, as thousands of Russians are becoming angry at the deceitful statements from the Kremlin that everything is under control, that don't worry, we got this type of statement from the Kremlin. And two important paradigm shifts as a result of this Ukrainian invasion of Kursk. One of them is that Ukraine really destroyed this kind of thesis that Russia will win no matter what. Because for the last 10 years, let's face it, yes, Ukraine has been able to defend itself effectively, but at the same time, Russia gained territory throughout the past decade. So Ukraine was always trading territory with regards to this Russian offensive. And Russia is always the first one to talk about the reality on the ground situation. And so during peace talks now, the reality of the ground will be that Russia's also losing its own territory now. It's not just Ukraine that has to trade its own territory for the sake of peace. It will be also Russia that will have to trade its own territory, possibly for the sake of peace. So it's also going to be a discussion on what Russia has lost as well. So this is really important because, of course, the Russians felt like, yeah, no matter what happens, we're pushing. Nobody's attacking us. And now they're feeling that Ukraine is also able to damage them, gain territory within Russia, and impose consequences as a result of that. Another thing I want to mention as part of this paradigm shift is that this invasion of Kursk really showed how diplomatically isolated Russia really is. Did you see any allies of the Kremlin step out and raise concerns and condemn the Ukrainian invasion of Kursk and say that we need to bring this to an emergency UN meeting and discuss how brutal this Ukrainian invasion of Kursk is? No, nobody stepped up for Russia. Not China, not Iran, not Hungary, North Korea, or other countries in the global south that are on friendly terms with Russia. Nobody said a single thing apart from their typical lines. China, the only thing I can think of, reiterated their position about de-escalating. Basically, both sides have to stop escalating, which is an insult for Putin, right? At the very least, he counted on China to say something that would back Russia. And here you can see that Putin feels extremely insulted that none of his allies are stepping up and condemning this. Essentially, they're just saying that this is fair game. Ukraine has the right to do this, right? It's only fair after 2.5 years of this brutal invasion where you attacked the Ukrainians indiscriminately, committed some of the worst atrocities on the civilian population, and now you're the one crying foul. Nobody's really, nobody's really believing that anymore. So this is really, really important. And so it's crazy how things can change so dynamically in just a matter of a few days. So you guys can let me know in the comment section if you agree with these type of paradigm shifts that I commented on, that I mentioned, but I really think that's important because that really allows Ukrainians to, and also the motivation, the morale boost that this brings to the Ukrainians as well, to believe that, yes, Ukraine can be successful in attacking Russia and gaining initiative. And last but not least, let's talk about a great package that's been approved by the German Ministry of Defense. So they've published basically the latest deliveries that they will provide to the Ukrainian military by the end of this year. And you can see that there's some really, really nice assets and systems that Ukraine will receive. 2 IRIS-T surface-to-air missile systems, 4 IRIS-T SLS launchers. Ukraine will also receive the Panzer artillery pieces, 12 of them, also 30 Leopard tanks, and a really amazing 400 armored personnel carriers, or the kind of lightly armored vehicles that Ukraine will receive. This is a huge boost. So as you can see, as a result of this invasion of Kursk, you can see that the allies have also been revived. Because we remember that even a few weeks ago, the peace talks were really prominent in the Western media, that Ukraine needs to start thinking about negotiations with Russia. Now that has completely faded away and disappeared. In the past 10 days, the West has been really revived. And you can see now Germany's pledging more weaponry. The United States, according to some rumors, is also going to announce soon another big military aid package that could be worth a few $1 billion. That will probably happen in the next few weeks. So there's been a revival. The West now understands that if they continue supporting Ukraine, Ukraine can win this. They just need to be very consistent with the help and stop with these gaps or periods where Ukraine just doesn't receive anything. Because there's also the aspect and the potentiality of the West being worried that if Ukraine wins and is decisive in its victory, Russia will collapse, and then all the consequences that will come after that. They're very afraid of this. So let's not believe these narratives that Russia's pushing, that if we collapse, it's going to be the end of the world. So you can let me know in the comment section what you think about any of these topics that I covered today. Again, a huge thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. And you guys continue donating to the Ukrainian drone program and to the Ukrainian people. The Ukrainian people really, really need your assistance right now. It's paramount and absolutely necessary. So again, huge thank you for supporting this channel and the Ukraine cause. And I will see you guys in the next one. Slava Ukraini!